Edward Soldier here, and I'm about to talk about the Orville New Horizons Season 3, Episode 4, and my thoughts on this episode. Wow. Just wow. And I mean the good kind of wow. I mean, there's so much in this episode. Wow. We got so much. And you know what else we got in this? We got politics. And we had two serious issues in this episode. One that's pretty recent, that's come up, and another that was from a couple of years ago. And the Orville just shows why it's better than Star Trek when it covers this stuff, because the politics in this, they put their position out and it was fair. They didn't push you either way. It wasn't resolved. It's just out there for you to judge yourself. And that's what Star Trek used to do. You know? It used to just let you decide on whether you're for or against something. You know, it lets something breathe. Star Trek doesn't do that anymore. But this episode, the fucking action's amazing. The fucking story is great. I mean, everything. I know I say this in every review, but Seth MacFarlane knows what he's doing. And just to come off of, you know, just watching Star Trek and that disaster that is, and yes, the ending was good, but still, and just to have it, compare Star Trek to the Orville, and they're just two different shows. One is a bloody joke, and the other one is something that should be succeeding. And the fact the Orville has less episodes pisses me off. It only has a 10 and Star Trek gets 13. Are you fucking insane? Oh, it pisses me off, that does. It really does. Oh, damn it. But anyway, this episode, CGI is amazing. I love the world building we saw in this. And just like something I thought was going to happen. And yes, I kind of saw this coming, but it was so fucking entertaining to watch. There's no boring stuff. It's not like I knew every moment was going to happen. But my God, this was so just fun to watch, enjoyable to watch. It was, you know, you were learning stuff about certain races, and you would, oh my God. It's just everything in this show is amazing. And you know, I still go into these kind of worried, like, is it going to go woke? Is it going to destroy everything that Seth MacFarlane's built? And I get less and less worried every episode, because again, this episode, it covered one, you know, political thing that in the UK we don't really deal with anymore, because that was resolved like ages ago. But apparently in America you still, you know, have issues with it. And again, just going to say I'm not on anybody's side in this before I start having people jump on me. It's just saying in the UK we kind of don't really bother with. But Seth MacFarlane, he put it out there, and you know what he did? He didn't put anything there. You know, the politics is there, but he didn't try to do anything terrible with it. You know, he didn't try to make a political statement. He didn't try to say one side's bad and one side's good. He just put it there, and he's going to let us decide, like adults, not children, like Star Trek would have treated us. And I have respect for him for that. There was also another political topic that was at the beginning of the episode, and I've got to say, again, both sides of the argument were put out there, and he didn't try to force you to choose one side. And again, he just knows what he's doing. And if Star Trek could have just been like this instead of what it is, I think Star Trek would be in a better position. But overall, this episode, it gets an 8 out of 10 for me again. And yeah, if you have not watched this episode, go watch it. It's amazing. Oh, so much of this was amazing. Let's go into spoilers now, because I'm tired of dancing around it. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. Watch this episode. Let's go to spoilers, and now in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, The episode starts off with us looking at Krill and going down to the surface of Krill. Fucking got to admit, Krill looked fucking amazing. But we see Talia. Now Talia is a returning character from season 2 and 1 who has met up with Ed a couple of times. And she is now the leader of this group who want to take over Krill in the elections that are going on the planet. Now this is what I'm talking about by the political side and what Seth MacFarlane does. Now you could kind of put this in certain ways. I'm just going to say, you could say he's trying to say something about Trump, or he's trying to say something about, you know, popular politicians who, go on to, say very stupid shit. And, try to stoke fear and shit. You can kind of say that, but I kind of think you don't have to. I kind of think you can just enjoy the episode, and you don't have to. But some people probably are going to say, this is political stuff, and, get annoyed about it. I think what Seth did here was great. He didn't try to do shit. He just said, here's a story, take a look and judge for yourself. And I respect him for that. Anyway, Talia is angry at the Krill government for trying to sign a peace treaty with the Union. She says that they are a superior species, that Avius would be against this, and she's rallying rallying a lot of people to her side. And, she's now becoming a threat to the Krill government, to the Chancellor. The next scene is us on Earth watching a show of Annie in the theatre with the President, who is played by a really known person from the Orville. I've completely forgot the actor's name, but it's definitely him. He's playing the President. And I gotta admit, it's great to see him. I kind of wish he wasn't an alien. I wish he was just himself. But I kind of get why Seth MacFarlane didn't want to kind of, have the Orville and Babylon 5 getting mixed up with each other. I get it. I know, cover him up a bit. But it is the same guy. Anyway, so the Krill Chancellor is also there. And they're watching this Annie show. And Annie's song, The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, was kind of funny because the Krill hate the sun because they fear the sun because the sun burns them. So, when we hear that song, The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, we kind of just hear it as a kind of funny, enjoyable song. The Krill kind of see it as more of a demon, and, so it was pretty funny when the Krill explained themselves, when they explained how they felt about the song. The fact it brings fear in them because, again, they hate the sun, which is funny. Anyway, so the President of the Union with some of the admirals, they're discussing the elections on Krill. And the Chancellor, he's dead certain that he's going to win the elections because they have a lot of polls that show that he's leading in huge numbers and, he's going to win easily. But they are concerned about Tella, or whatever the fuck her name is. But the Chancellor is very assured that the people will vote the right way. Now, the reason Talia is getting so much support is because of the fact she's bringing up all the fear and the fact it's making the Chancellor look weak, making a deal with the Union. So he needs the people to see that he's strong, so he invites the President and a delegation from the Union to come to his planet, to come to Krill, to watch over the election. And they agree. And we then go to the next scene where Ed and the crew are drinking because they're going on a pub crawl. They're going on a pub crawl, but it's a different kind of pub crawl because they're going through time. And Gordon mentions his dad apparently got to ancient Greece, to the water wars, and that's a pub crawl to them. And I kind of found that funny. Ed gets a message from the bridge that he's got a message from the Admiral. They go meet the Admiral, and the Admiral's told them they're heading to Krill to watch over the elections, and the President has picked the Orville to escort him to Krill. So Ed's kind of massively happy about that, because this is an historic moment, the signing of a treaty between the Krill and the Union. So the Orville sets off with the president on. He gets meted by an honour guard by Teller, the head of security, and the president doesn't really like all this faff. He just wants to be seen as a normal person, but he is the president, so he's going to get all this pomp and crap, and just deal with it, man. So they head off to Krill. When they get to Krill, they're met up by 3 Krill cruisers. They escort them to the planet, and Burke takes the president, Ed, Admiral, and the president with his wife, I think that's what she was, down to the planet. And when they go down to the planet, it's not easy to get down the Krill's space because it's all toxified and it kind of fucks up their ship. They're led in by Krill fighters to help them get through the gas or whatever it's called. They managed to get through, but it's a pretty bumpy ride. There was also a joke between the Admiral and Ed. The Admiral mentions that he knew that Ed was drunk on the call, and that kind of shuts Ed up. They get through the stratosphere of the planet, and they get down to the city. Again, great CGI of the planet. I love seeing the Krill world. It's so interesting to look at. And a planet is pretty much in darkness for its entire 24 hours. It's pretty interesting. So they land on the planet. Ed invites Burke to come with them on the planet to go through this historic moment. No, not Ed. It was the Admiral. The Admiral invites Burke. Anyway, they go through, and we see more of the Krill, culture. They're more like the Union doesn't deal with money anymore. We've kind of gone over that stuff, but the Krill still do, because they mention that they have markets that are very important on the planet. That the merchants are one of the biggest supporters, I think, of the Chancellor. Anyway, so they go through the hallways of the government of Krill, and we see a massive statue to Avis. And I kind of liked it. I mean, it did look pretty creepy with his fangs and stuff, but again, it is their deity. You've got to respect that. Anyway, they get to the Chancellor's office, and the Chancellor tells them that it's all going well. The votes are coming in, and he's ahead by so much that Tala is never going to catch up to him. At least that's what he thinks. So they talk about peace. They talk about they're going to, work together to try to defeat the real enemy, which is the... Oh my god, what are they called again? The Kalon, because they're the true enemies. And they're going to start working together more to try to defeat them. Also, one of the advisors to the Chancellor asks Burke how she feels about the planet and does she enjoy it, and Burke says yeah, they enjoy it. It seems like a great planet. They're also offered this drink, Krill drink, and Ed kind of mentions it's kind of like it's a kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because again, if they give you something shit, you have to pretend you like it because you have to be respectful. But apparently it tastes good and they're happy about it. And the Chancellor offers to send them a bunch of bottles, in gratitude for them coming to see him. Anyway, so whilst they're talking, something bad happens for the Chancellor. Turns out 2 of his biggest supporting bases have turned against him, or at least 2 areas that's supposed to be his biggest supporters have turned against him, are now voting for Tala. And now it turns out that it's going to be impossible for him to win outright. And what happens is, apparently, Tala wins by only a little bit. So the Chancellor demands a recount, basically. But unfortunately, a lot of Krill soldiers are kind of on Tala's side, and they pretty much take him into custody. And he is then marched off to a certain death. Anyway, so the president and Ed and the crew are now stuck because they're now on a planet that's now hostile to them and hostile to the Union. So they try to escape, but unfortunately the guards are ready. They take them into custody and put them in a cell. And at this moment, the holy zealots, not zealots, or a holy group has now said that Talia, why do I keep forgetting her name? Talia is now the Chancellor of Krill. And now she's going to take a ceremony, but first she decides to show the Krill people, the ex-chancellor, and to show that he's going to pay for betraying the Krill, and she stabs him in the chest with a knife and kills him. But he doesn't go out like a bitch, though. I'll give him that. He didn't go out like a bitch. He stood his ground, and that's it. Next scene is, the guards come and grab Ed. They take him to see Talia, and Ed tries to convince her that, listen, we can't be enemies. If we are enemies, we're going to be weaker, and it will just make it more easier for the Kaelon to take us both over. But she is not convinced. Talia says that the military of the Kaelon have been making new weapons, they've built more ships, and they're pretty much certain that they can beat the Kaelon on their own. And she wants the Union to pretty much fuck off. And, you know, Ed kind of feels like he's angry, and he thinks this is his fault because he had Talia as a prisoner, but he let her go because he thought that she had changed, but she hasn't. And he does blame himself. He tries to convince her, but she's just not having any of it. So she tells the guards to take him to go to a summary execution. The guards take him away, but they make him wear this robe thing and they walk him somewhere weird. Back on the Orville, Kelly gets a message from one of the Krill captains that they need to surrender the Orville and prepare to be boarded by Krill. Kelly refuses, fires at the Krill, and manages to break their lock on them, or their tractor beam on them, but they have to retreat because they're outgunned by the Krill. They manage to escape, but before Kelly orders a 21 situation thing. I thought what she called it, but it's a 21 situation thing. We don't find out to the end what that is, but she orders it, and the Orville goes straight to warp. They get out of there and go somewhere to hide for a bit. Ed's still being walked around by the Krill soldiers, but when the Krill soldiers go through the market, they're then attacked by a meat seller and then a group of other Krill. They kill the guards and take Ed to a secret location, where he is shown a child, a half human, half Krill child, where it's revealed that Ed is the father of, and her name is, because I am great with names, aren't I? Anya. And Anya is a half human, half Krill child, and it turns out Talia is the mother. And she's been hiding her from the population because she doesn't want to have a stain on her, and it would, destroy her political career. And the Krill who are protecting the child, they are a group who want this treaty to work. They want to sign it, and they want Ed to use his daughter to destroy Talia's political career, or at least force her to accept a treaty with the Union. But Ed doesn't want to use his daughter like that, and who the fuck would, mate? Jesus. And says to them, let him go back to the capital and talk to her. So they take him back to the capital. Ed confronts Talia and tells her he's met the child and he wants to try to get through to her, which he does try, but she's not having it. And then we get up to a very serious political thing, because it turns out, as the Krill are very religious, Ed asks, why did you have the child in the first place? Why didn't you abort it? Why didn't you do something about it? And Talia says, yeah, that's a crime on Kaelon. And then we get this really awful scene, with two parents who had an abortion, and the way you do that, to show you the kid that you aborted, that is some fucked up shit. Again, I'm not taking a side in American politics. Just saying here. I'm just I'm just not going to get in that because I just know I'm going to piss both sides off at some point. Again, I'm British. This whole thing, we're done with it. This is like, I have no dog in this fight. But, you know, the Orville went there. They mentioned it. But did Ed go on this fucking massive, you know, tirade and say these people are bad? He just says, Jesus Christ, this looks bad. That's all he said. He doesn't go further than that. He doesn't try and make a whole episode about it. It's just a one scene thing. Which is kind of, I say, kind of ballsy on Seth MacFarlane to bring up. Especially now in American politics and all that shit. Anyway. So, Tala. So, Tala says Ed has to now go to the execution with the others because he came back. We then get a scene where Kelly informs the Admiral what's going on. The Admiral tells Kelly that a fleet will meet her in 2 hours. 2 hours later, a fleet arrives, and I've got to say, I didn't think we were going to get a space battle in this episode. I mean, I really thought they would resolve this. You know, I knew that the treaty was dead. I thought there would be like a small little rescue mission. Oh no, it's not. It's Anyway, we're not there yet. The fleet is led by Akora. I think that's her name. I didn't catch it, but anyway, an admiral leading the fleet tells Kelly to warp the Orville with the fleet to Kaelon, where they're going to rescue the president and the rest of the away team. So they jump off right to Krill. When they arrive, there's not really much of a Krill fleet presence yet. Kelly tells Gordon to signal to the Krill that they've come back for the president and to hand him over. At this same point, Talia has got all the away team and the president lined up ready to be stabbed in the chest with a knife. She stabs the president with a knife first, and whilst he's in pain, whilst he's been stabbed, you get Lamar and Finn, who are disguised as Krill, because apparently that's what Order 21 is. It's pretty much, you know, disguising itself as Krill. They throw up some light beam balls that blinds the Krill. They grab the away team and they run off to get a car. They do. They drive off, getting chased by Krill, and we get this great car chase scene with the Krill firing at them, and Lamar's able to kind of get past them and get to a shuttle that's cloaked. In the space, the Orville is in a space battle with the Union fleet and the Krill fleet, and I got to say, this battle looked amazing. It's great to kind of see that they are still great at doing space battles in this show. I'm like, it's fantastic. It was a great space battle. Back on the shuttle gets through to the surface. I mean, they get through the atmosphere and they get to the fleet. They get chased by a couple of fighters, but they manage to get onto the Orville safe. The president is also healed, so he doesn't die from the stab wound. And the Orville and the rest of the Union fleet warp out of there and back to Earth. And the final couple of scenes is Ed pretty much accepting that the treaty with the Kaelon is dead, and it's back to being enemies with them. And hope for peace is pretty much a long way away, which gives the Kaelon a lot of power now, which I can't wait to see what they do with. I mean, having the, you know, Union and the Krill as allies, that's a dangerous, you know, team up. But now that they've split, it's going to be pretty hard for them to fight two wars at the same time. It's going to stretch their, you know, fleet to the max, unfortunately. Again, fucking great writing. You know, do you think Star Trek would fucking do that? A war with the Kaelon? Can you believe that? We had a fucking season with Discovery where we had this shittest fucking war I think you've ever seen in Star Trek. And the Orville, a fucking war with the Kaelon. It looks fucking amazing. It fucking makes sense. It doesn't look like shit. Star Trek, really? Fuck you, Star Trek. Anyway. And Ed, you know, he's happy he has a daughter, but he doesn't know he's going to see her again. And, you know, it's kind of a heartbreaking scene. You know, he has to accept that. but he hopes that maybe in time he will one day see her again. And Kay says that he's going to make a great dad one day. Just needs to have the right time. And the final scene is Talia looking at what is her name again? Anya through a computer screen, where she loves the child. You can see that, and maybe in the future Ed can get through to her and actually bring peace between the Union and the Kalon. Because if he can convince Talia to do that, then that's going to be a pretty strong alliance. And that's the end of the episode. Again, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. It's a fucking amazing episode. And again, all the creative effort following, he knows what he's doing. He understands that he's just a show that's supposed to entertain people. Not put a gun to your head and say, vote the way I tell you to. Which is what Star Trek feels like sometimes. And yeah, it's an amazing episode. And I can't wait for next week's. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.